Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm here with my first International Scrapbooking Day layout. So this was a triple challenge. The first part was to do the Scratacular Cropping Club white space challenge to use some white space on your page. The second part is for the Secret Not Secret Kit Club to be inspired by your scrapbooking stash. So I have a very minimal stash, so I was going for a minimalist layout, which worked really well with the other challenge to use some white space. So I thought those worked really well together. The final challenge is Felicity Jane's recipe challenge for International Scrapbooking Day. So that was to use a journaling card, 2 pattern papers, stamping, die cut, stitching, journaling, 1 photo, a tag, a circular element, and a metal element. So I pulled out some Felicity Jane products. I thought, first of all, even without the first Felicity Jane challenge, the other 2 layouts really inspired me to do that minimalistic, emphasize white space, that kind of design, which works really well with the Felicity Jane aesthetic. So I went straight for Felicity Jane products. You will recognize this background from my real-time process video because I could not cut this paper up and I ended up hoarding it for a Felicity Jane layout, but I didn't want to hoard it for too long. So here it is, getting used up as I promised. So this is going to be my background for this page. So I am pulling out the autumn die cuts. This is everything left from my first Felicity Jane layout ever, which I got the autumn girl used up in all of that. So this is what's left. I do have another autumn die cut pack, and I actually got the autumn paper kit. So I will save those to use together, maybe in another kit for an actual like monthly collection maybe, I'm not sure. But I still had this already started pack, so I figured I would go ahead and use some of those. So I laid everything out. There's this grateful die cut, so I want to use that as my title. I knew right away I wanted to start out my cluster around my photo with a doily and a tag, and I just sort of built up from there from what was left in my die cut pack. So I knew a tag was one of the recipe items, so I made sure to get that on there. A single photo, so again I just made sure I used one. And so I'm just trying to get my design down, and then you can see a few things I already pulled out that's part of that recipe, so I don't forget to use them. So I have some embroidery thread there. I'm thinking I'll either stitch in white or black. I'm not sure which one yet. You see that those triangular paper clips, those are from Pebbles, I believe. And then I do have some black Nuvo drops I'm going to bring in as my circular element. They had recommended like buttons, enamel dots, anything like that. But I'm going to go with the Nuvo drops because it'll still give that same look to fulfill that piece of the recipe. So, but how this is looking with me building everything off of this photo, I wanted a shelf element for all of it to sit on. So that's why I pulled in this striped border strip from that one cut apart sheet. So my 2 pattern papers is obviously this background heart paper, but then I am also counting the cut apart border paper as my second pattern paper element. So you see that there. I cut a few border strips, but I only end up using that striped one. I really like how that looks. It looks super bold, but without being distracting, because I know you have all those little hearts across the background. And it kind of looks a little busy from this top view looking down on this page, but in real life those hearts don't look busy at all, so hopefully in the close-up it'll look better. But I really like how this looked. I definitely wanted to make sure I used these big florals. By the way I was layering them up, there were some gaps in the floral pieces, so I just used those areas to get the leaf elements on there. So you'll see that I am just putting that one up on some foam so it can pop up a little bit, just to add a little bit of interest. There we go, but I think I'm not ready to glue down yet, I don't think. This is kind of where I think my design is going to go until I have to start thinking about a journaling card, and then I kind of change my mind a little bit. But I like the banners at the top. I'm liking the plus signs in each of the 3 areas, but I end up changing that up a bit too. I really like how those plus signs look stacked up together, so once I put those 2 together I liked that a lot more, and I'll actually end up putting that 3rd one up there as well. I kind of like how it looks. It's like trickling off of the photo element, and I really like that. But you see, once I have to start thinking about a journaling card, I move it up a little bit, and I'm thinking I'm going to have my journaling card hanging down below the photo elements. I'm just trying to figure out which way looks best. I think at first I'm going to use this thanks card, which is the little thank you pocket card that they give you with your kits. They have a bunch of different designs, and I think it's random the ones you get. I've only gotten 2 kits and both of them are different, but I was thinking it might be cool to kind of incorporate that as my journaling card, but then I decide to go for something I can actually journal on. Since I need to do journaling on this page as well, I might as well do it on the journal card. So I go and find this other cut apart sheet in that kit, and I'm just going to cut apart one of the journaling cards that actually has lines on it and I'll switch that out instead. I like this one that says today just because it's simple journaling lines. I'm thinking right away I'll probably tuck the today up underneath those photos. I know the today part's not going to show, but I just wanted to try this sweet one out first because I really liked this black card with little white hearts on it. But I really needed the lines for journaling. I didn't think that little label area was going to be enough. But once I put it here, I really like how that looks, and then moving the floral to the left side of it. So that's kind of where I go from here. Now I'm really starting to think about the recipe. So I pull out my Hannah stamps. You guys saw me struggle all month long in January with these, and there's a few I still never got to use. So I thought I would incorporate the question and the answer stamps. And the stamp is actually questions and answers, like plural, but I only needed question and answer. So what I decide to do, which you'll see in a minute, is when I go to stamp, I will put some washi tape over the S and ink up my stamp, and then I'll remove the washi tape so that the S does not have any stamp on it, and so that way when I stamp it, it'll just be question and answer. So you'll see that in a minute. You do see me rubbing that stamp along my arm before I use it just because it's a brand new stamp. Sometimes it helps if you kind of rough it up a little on your skin first so it can pick up the stamp, like the ink. Sometimes if you go straight for the ink pad with a brand new stamp, it just doesn't stamp very cleanly. Not that I'm a stamping expert by any means. We all know I'm not. But I was very pleased by how this stamped out, so that one worked out well with the question, so I'm going to do the same exact thing with the answer. I just thought that was a cool way to include the stamping without it being super distracting, because once I decided I knew I was using this heart background, I thought it was going to be really hard to stamp on the background without it getting really distracting. So incorporating it into the journaling I think works really well. So that's my little journal card. I think it turned out really cute. I was very pleased. There we go. That's just gonna tuck right up under that strip. This is Marcus up in my mom's tree, by the way. So this is at the end of November, and my mom likes getting her Christmas lights up early so she can enjoy them all month long. And Marcus is very helpful, so he knew she knew that if she asked, he would do it for her. So he's way up high in her tree. Like, I'm zoomed in. He climbed up there so high. But this is just about, you know, him helping her out and how I appreciate it. So you'll see my journaling in a minute, but it'll end up saying question, and then it's kind of like me saying, hey Marcus, you want to spend all day putting lights up for my mom? And then under answer is just yes ma'am, because that's just him. You ask him to do something, he's like, sure, of course I will. There we go. So starting to get everything glued down. Again, I'm trying to incorporate those leaves to fill in the awkward areas of those floral die cuts. But I'm pretty happy with where everything is right now, so I'm going to go ahead and glue everything down. I do end up snipping off the part of the striped border piece that hangs off of the edge there, and I'm going to incorporate that in that upper section where you see those 2 banners. I kind of thought I was going to do that, which is why you see that striped banner down a little lower. I'm thinking that I'm going to have that banner piece run across the top to cover that gap so that I can have that one banner lower than the others. I just didn't want them the same length. I thought that would look kind of weird. But I like the idea of that striped one looking a little longer than that heart one. was really excited by this recipe. They gave us a really good one to work with. And it's funny because it looks like it's a lot of elements that they ask you to include. But if you go through their feed of everyone who has posted layouts for this challenge, there's a lot of really pretty light, simple looking layouts, but they included everything, so you don't have to make it look super crazy busy or anything. And even though I am adding a lot of die cuts, I do still feel like it's minimalist because I do have all of this white space that I'm utilizing. I'm making sure that there's large gaps of this background paper where there's just nothing, so that your eye kind of has a place to rest in between all of these florals and everything. But you just saw me tuck those metal paper clips into 3 separate areas, so those are my metal element. And I think I almost have everything. I still have to do my stitching and my nouveau drops, but I'm waiting until the very end to do that. So I'm just putting the date up on this little tab, and then I will do my journaling. There we go. I drew some hearts down there because I love him. Alright, so you see my Felicity Jane recipe there. I'm just checking everything off as I go so I do not forget anything. And so this is where I see all I have left is stitching and nouveau drops. So I'm going to go ahead and get my stitching down. I decided to just do 1 row of cross stitching along the bottom of that border strip. I think that adds a really nice detail, but it doesn't distract. It kind of just continues that line. And so I really like how that ends up looking. I'm just punching my holes 1/4 inch apart, and then I'm just making sure that the second row is directly below the first row by another 1/4 inch, so that my X's are nice and square. Stitching just looks so good on Felicity Jane layouts, and I usually do white, but I felt with everything that was going on I really needed the black so that you could really see it. I thought the white would blend in too much and almost make it look busier, but the boldness of the black, like, you can see it. It's not confusing what it is. It's big fat cross stitches, and I love it. I ran out of thread, so I have to end this one and then I'll start the other one. I didn't always used to do it this way, but I really find that it's easy just to knot the end of your thread and just start pulling it through without having to do a whole lot of intricate stuff on the back. I think that's just easier, especially if you put washi tape over the knot on the back. Everything stays in place. It's just easier for me that way, so that's kind of how I end up doing it. There we go. Stitching is done. Now I just have nouveau drops. I just know I want them in 3 areas, so I'm just going to kind of spread them out in a semi-visual triangle in 3 separate sizes, the way I like to do. So I know I want one at the top with that cluster, and then I will do a cluster by the tag and down by the floral. Ta-da! There we go! So this was my first layout for International Scrapbooking Day. Right after this, my kit came, so I started making layouts with Wolfpack, which is super fun, so you'll see those coming up. But thanks guys for watching. See you later. Bye.